night they invented champagne. Da 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 da. The night they invented champagne. Yeah, that's fun. It's a little upbeat number.
Yeah, every show should have one.
I decided I wasn't going, and this one just has one.
And this show has exactly
period.
One. So
one period.
It is, yeah.
I decided I wasn't going to start us off with Thank Heavens for Little Girls. I feel like, why spoil it so soon? You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's make the audience wait.
I already know it's Molly's favorite song. I know she watched it and she was like, hell yeah, baby.
This is what I'm all about.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to another episode of Showgays, a movie musical podcast. Something I learned today is we should be calling this a cinemusical podcast. I saw that in a review of this film. They called it one of MGM's cinemusicals. And I was like, that is a much better term than movie musical.
Oh, yeah.
Do we think that cinemusical is a broader umbrella term that we could use even for our pro shots, or it just sounds better?
I don't even know if we want to bring up pro shots now with some members of our fan community.
Yeah.
I don't think the complaint was about it being a pro shot, but
that's true. It was not about about doing a pro shot. That's true. Yeah. I was so taken by the term cinemusical. I was like, cinemusicals. I just think cinema is like peak.
Period. Cinema is peak. You're right.
Cinema is peak. Because what is movie? Movie is
an everyman.
A moving picture.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a moving picture.
But moving is probably Germanic in origin, would be my guess. The etymology. Move. That feels.
Do you know the makeup artist John McClane?
No.
He has the most wonderful affected accent and always says film. So that's that's my personal favorite is film.
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 So this is Showgays, a cinemusical podcast where we talk about cinemusicals that we all know
cinemusicals
and love.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. A rebrand
right here in the middle of the pod. It's incredible. Before we get started, RJ, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. RJ and I watched this together with my mother. She was in town because she's currently in Italy.
Wow.
She was flying out the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we have to watch Gigi for the pod. And she was like, oh, I'll watch it. It's fine. I used to like it when I was young, like when I was a little girl, blah, blah. We watched it together and she slept through all of it. And RJ was on his phone. So I watched the pod. I watched the movie. Yeah. Don't fret.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that. I will say I did not fall asleep watching this. No, I did watch the movie. I did not fall asleep. I was not on my phone the entire time. I though have in the last few months started to have a real problem with falling asleep while watching television in a way that makes me feel very old. I mean, I
started napping every day after work. It's not good.
No.
I've had several recent discussions about when middle age begins. And this is the first thing that's happened to me that's made me really, really genuinely question if I could be a
reflect. Yeah. AARP.
When do you all think that middle age begins?
That's a wonderful question, Molly. And it is clear that we would rather discuss anything than this movie, so it makes sense to have this conversation.
How different is that from any other episode?
That's true.
Would it be 40s, 50s?
Well, I mean,
that's the generally understood idea.
I think the real question is, like, I don't feel like I would call myself a young adult anymore, right? Like, I'm just an adult.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe that's like what the term middle age was sort of originally meant to mean. But I feel like the way it's actually used is more like you're getting a little bit older, but you're not quite in like retirement territory.
You're not retired.
Yes. So I feel like it starts at like 45.
That's what I was going to say, like mid 40s.
But I have talked to
40 feels way too young to be middle aged.
Yeah.
I could see an argument even for 40, but I have talked to several people who think 35, and I'm not sure that
I mean, I guess if you're going purely statistically on how long the average lifespan is, and it's like, what is it, 82 or whatever, then I guess like late 30s, you start to head around that you're starting to get to the middle
part of your life.
Yeah.
Boy.
Just purely numbers based.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
When do you usually watch TV though? Like immediately after work, or do you like have dinner and then watch?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess it's more of a when it's like a post dinner.
Yeah.
When you get back from the honeymoon, did you say?
No, when do you turn on the honeymooners?
Oh, when do I turn on the honeymooners? Well, I will say, so last night, Andrew and I were watching House of the Dragon, and I won't say too much in case people haven't seen this week's episode, but the first half of it was like very talky, which was very funny because then it like got very action packed. But I was like, I am having trouble staying awake. And that was like, I want to say it was like 9 p.m. It was not late.
Right.
Do you just sit on a couch? What's your situation? Because I feel like my couch situation, I don't, unless I was like laying down watching TV, I don't think I could fall asleep.
Do you suspend fully upside down like a bat?
I do. I do a goth disco bat situation. No, I mean, I have. So you observe the couch that I'm sitting on at the moment.
Observe the couch.
Observe. I would say I have like a fairly standard length couch, and then it does have a chaise on one part. I feel like
when you sit on that side.
Well, when I'm by myself, I always sit on the chaise side, and then when Andrew comes over, he usually sits on the other side, and then I will like cuddle with him and like maybe kind of like half lean on. Maybe the real problem is the lean on position,
just sit up
and not
straight.
my age.
Just sit up straight.
Just don't touch each other at all. And
leave some room for the fucking Holy Ghost, please. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Anything in the mailbag?
Should we address the mailbag? Okay.
We can address the first paragraph of the mailbag.
I'm not going to read the email verbatim. So we got an email from Lucas.
We're going to call him out by name. We got an email from a listener.
Why not? Lucas has written in before, and we've read other emails. I feel that we have a rapport together. Look, I feel that the email was written partially in jest. I'm not entirely sure the tone, but Lucas expressed disappointment about our choice of Pro Shot with our other options being more appropriate for the 4th of July. And I want to say this about it. Lucas expressed disappointment that we just picked what we most wanted to watch instead of something that would be more culturally relevant. And I'm going to say this, until you pay me to do this podcast, I will continue to pick whatever
I want. Yeah. That's how I felt about it too. And I thank you for your feedback, Lucas. And we did put it in our feedback bucket. And it's something we'll reflect on in the future, but I do not feel bad.
We did nothing wrong, and we will not apologize. That's how we feel. Okay.
Correct. But he did agree with us that Diana the Musical was bad.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so on that note, we can all stand firm and put our hands in the middle.
The community can come together.
And I think that's what we're really moment,
and all say Diana the Musical was bad. I will be going. The San Diego Pride Parade is July 20th. I will be marching with a sign that just says Diana the Musical was bad.
And I bet you'll get a lot of support from the community.
Yeah, I think I will.
Well, that's why we picked Gigi today to celebrate the 4th of July.
That was really Gigi. Our cultural contribution was Gigi for the 4th of July. And
no, we picked Gigi to celebrate the left beating Marine Le Pen, who Molly was hoping would win the French election, obviously.
Wow.
But sorry, Molly.
You've besmirched my name with on this podcast, being a Marine Le Pen supporter.
Let's move on to the 1 minute challenge summary. This week, I was tasked with summarizing the plot of the 1958 film Gigi in a minute or less.
Okay, Adam, your time starts now.
Gigi is a young girl in turn-of-the-century Paris under the care of her grandmother and tutelage of her great-aunt Alicia. She is being instructed to end up becoming a courtesan, which she doesn't really much care for. The idea of love disgusts her. She would rather spend time playing cards with the rich, handsome bachelor Gaston, a family friend. Gaston has a woman he's seeing who's having an affair with her skating instructor. His uncle Honoré is another man who has chosen to never marry and proclaims it is a better life to live, being able to love different women over and over and over. After a beach visit with her grandmother and Gaston, Gigi with her grandmother and Gaston, her family realizes it is time for her to fulfill her duties to be with the wealthy Gaston. I kind of wrote this quickly. He takes her out on a date, but becomes disgusted after seeing her act like many girls he had womanized before her, thus takes her home, but upon leaving, reflects on his love for her, realizing he would rather leave his confirmed bachelor life behind and make her a legitimate woman by marrying her. They end the movie happily married and in love.
Wow. With 3 minutes extra. Or 3 minutes past.
3 seconds?
3 seconds.
What, 3 minutes. That would have been quite the story, Gigi.
I just read the entire Wikipedia page. It got a little muddy in the middle because I was like, I should probably mention Honore, even though he really doesn't have anything to do with the plot whatsoever.
Yeah, but he sings feature heavily in this. So yeah,
he does sing the number that Molly loves.
The number that I love. I have a big. This is my favorite running bit. Stop it.
No, she's terrible.
You've invented
right now.
Today.
I have a big confession to make about this movie, and I don't know if up top is the place to make it.
You've never seen it, never heard of it.
When I watched it, okay. I've been watching so much like Bridgerton and everything like that. Mm-hmm. I missed that she was a courtesan until.
So Adam missed that.
Don't worry. Yeah, I missed it. I missed it too.
I only knew it because I was reading the Wikipedia
while the movie was happening.
I looked up the Wikipedia entry after watching it because I did not understand what made him so mad before he proposed to her. I was like, I am missing something. And I think it's that like sexual politics have changed so much since this movie was made that it's like so subtle. Yeah. I'm sure if I had tried harder to pay attention, maybe I could have caught it. But like, I really just thought that they were like grooming her to get the best husband possible.
That's literally what I thought too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that I wasn't the only one that had that experience.
No. We're all media literate here today.
Right.
I also, there's something about like the term courtesan though, that in my brain, maybe it's because it's the word court is part of it, that I'm like, oh, it's when kings were a thing. So it's just like, I think courtesans existed in like the 1700s and then they just like weren't a thing anymore.
I'm also not
even
sure.
Though I know, even though Moulin Rouge is,
I only think of Moulin Rouge.
Was courtesan the word that they used on Wikipedia?
Yeah,
Wikipedia and in a couple reviews.
But I don't think it was.
There's one that fully just calls her a prostitute.
It was never mentioned though. The word was never said.
I felt like the Wiki, I thought I read Wikipedia. Maybe I read a different summary, but I felt like it just said like trained to become his mistress, which is slightly different. So it's more like being a kept woman. I think a courtesan is more directly transactional, but I could be wrong again about what exactly that term means.
Yeah. Now we just say escort.
Sure.
Valet? No.
But if you're a mistress
at the restaurant.
I feel like you could be like a woman trained to become a mistress, and there's an expectation that you get taken care of, but it's not quite as tit for tat necessarily. Is it an escort or is it a sugar baby?
Yeah,
it feels like a
relationship
where like escort feels like you go to a service and you're like, I'd like to hire this woman for the night to be my date for the wedding that I'm going to.
I'm not sure that she was that. I think it was more like you're going to be a professional sugar baby is kind of the.
I don't think that's true because I think I don't think it's ever.
It's like
it's never
candy.
Supposed to be Gaston until halfway through when they're like, oh, it's Gaston.
It made sense that it was him.
So I think, and she has the line where she's like, and then when you're done with me, I just go to someone else's bed. So she is aware that it is like, I'm just going to do this. That's why Aunt Alicia has the line where she's like, first of all, Alicia is the best way to pronounce the name Alicia, by the way. Aunt Alicia says, we don't get married. What is it? We don't get married at once. We get married at
the end. I think she says
after a time or something like that.
Yeah, it was something that sort of implied like maybe at the end of your life you might end up married, but not before that. But I thought that she was just saying like, you see how much you can get out of men by like playing them for how much money they can give you while they're wooing you, but like you should ultimately turn many of them down until you get the best deal. Like that's how I interpreted her advice to Gigi, which again, it feels a little more sugar baby.
Yeah. Like
a serial sugar baby.
Yeah. I guess maybe I just don't know what there's
a wide spectrum of sex work that exists is what we're saying.
Courtesan, the official definition from Oxford, is a prostitute, especially one with wealthy or upper class clients.
Oh.
Okay.
Historically, the term referred to a courtier, a person who attended the court of a monarch or other powerful person. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the one-to-one today. Yeah. I'm leaning escort, but Molly says sugar baby.
I think it's probably somewhere in the middle of those two things is really
a sugar escort.
A sugar escort. A sugar woman is what she is. She's a sugar woman.
Oh no, she's fully still like a teenager. That's what's horrifying about it. I mean, there are many things that are wild about this film, but that is just one of them. RJ, what's your relationship to Gigi before? Did you have one before we watched it?
No, I only saw the Tony's performance of Vanessa Hudgens in the latest Gigi revival, and she sang The Night They Invented Champagne. I did remember there was a Kennedy Center Honors. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Jerry Herman, but David Hyde Pierce sang. It couldn't be Jennifer Herman because he didn't write the song. Yeah, but David Hyde Pierce sang. No, someone sang it. Maybe it's the Kennedy. What? The first song.
Oh, Little Girls. Thank Heaven for Little Girls. Yeah. Thank Heaven for Little Girls.
You couldn't make it any further through the podcast without singing.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen 6 more times.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just like knew of the song, but I had heard the song before. But I think I just knew through osmosis of like, it's a problematic song.
Yeah.
Molly.
I'm pretty sure I watched it as a kid. I don't know exactly how old. And I remember being like slightly confused about what was going on the whole time when I was watching it. And that I didn't necessarily really like it. So that was my thing going into it. And then I knew, obviously, the song has been referenced. People have talked about it being a problematic plot.
Yeah. In high school, mom bought or maybe I got it for like Christmas one year, like one of those like pack of DVDs that were like sold as a set. Mm-hmm. And it was like a movie musical set. And it was like West Side Story, I think Gypsy, this, and probably My Fair Lady too is the other one, would be my guess.
A Cine musical set.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, I've never seen this. And mom had seen it when she was young. So we watched it. And I remember I don't even know if we finished it genuinely. Like, I think we got halfway through and I was like, I don't think this is good. I don't like this, but we probably did finish. I just don't remember it. I just remember the beginning of the movie. And I did not enjoy it.
I feel like I remember the red living room was the thing that like was still in my brain.
Yes, but I also was like, the red is so vibrant and it reminded me of Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Yeah.
How vibrant the rooms were in that movie too. Which also is another, again, to continue our French series this season. This is another film set in France.
Look, France was a great ally to the US as it won independence. So happy 4th of July.
Lafayette.
If we watched Hamilton, we would have known more about.
We would, if only we knew.
If only we had ever seen Hamilton. I've never seen Hamilton before. So, You're
so dumb. So Gigi was first a novella written authored by an author named Colette in 1944. It tells basically the same story, and a girl named Gigi learning to be a courtesan, falls in love with Gaston. They end up together in the end. And then in 1951, writer Anita Luce, who also wrote the book, memoir, also novel, something, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, that the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is based on. Okay. She wrote the play version of Gigi, and it starred Audrey Hepburn, which is again wild because Audrey both plays Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, which obviously is a very similar role to Gigi. And also she played Holly Golightly, which is a similar like character who lives in that kind of world.
Yeah.
I thought that was very fascinating.
Yeah.
This movie, though, this Gigi 1958 is directed by Vincent Minnelli. Oh my God, I forgot to do the thing. Guys, I've never done this before.
Oh no.
Wikipedia. Gigi.
Oh, like the who did what?
It is directed by Vincent Minnelli. The screenplay is by Alan J. Lerner. It is produced by Arthur Freed. It stars Leslie Caron as Gigi, Maurice Chevalier as Honoré, Louis Jourdan as Gaston, Hermione Gingold, who plays Mayor Shin's wife in
Music
Man. She is the grandmother. I don't know. Madame Alvarez is her character name. Ava Gabor. Mamita. Ava Gabor plays Leon Dexhelmont, which is a very fun role. Jacques Bergerac plays her not tennis instructor, skating instructor, Sandomir. And Isabel Jeans plays Aunt Alicia. Cinematography is by Joseph Ruttenberg. It is edited by Adrian Fazan. Music is by Frederick Lowe and Andre Previn. So that must be they interpolated some of like Previn's classic pieces. It is distributed by MGM. It was released on May 15th, 1958. It is 115 minutes long. Its budget was $3.3 million and it made in box office $13.2 million, but that does include both the original run and the 1966 re-release, just so everybody knows. Okay. This one, I'm just going to go right to it. This won all 9 Academy Awards that it was nominated for. Wow. It was the highest winning, most wins a movie had ever won at the Academy Awards up until the following year when Ben-Hur won 11. But this held the record for sweeping every category it was nominated in until Lord of the Rings: Return of the King in 2003, which won 12, I believe. So it was nominated for Best Song, Gigi. Best Scoring of a Musical Picture, Andre Previn. Best Film Editing, Adrian Fazan. Best Costume Design, Cécile Beton. I don't know why I'm saying all these in French. I don't think all of these people are French. Cecil Beaton. Best Cinematography Color, Joseph Ruttenberg. Best Art Direction. So then they separate. Art Direction is William A. Horning and E. Preston Ames, and Set Decoration is Henry Grace and F. Keogh Gleason. Best Screenplay for Alan J. Lerner. Best Director for Vincent Minnelli, and Best Motion Picture for Arthur Freed. So, no performances.
Yeah, that kind of checks out. I think the package and the presentation of the film
are the standouts.
Yeah,
for sure. This is what many consider the last great MGM musical. This is like where they say this is like the last one they do.
I'm curious what the actual last MGM musical was. Like of this era.
Yeah. Where do they go after this? They probably start when they start bombing, making less money. Arthur Freed had approached Alan Lerner during the My Fair Lady tryouts in 1954 with this book to be like, this is the one we should do. They had to actually buy the rights from Anita Luce, who had written the play version, because she had bought the Colette had sold the rights to Anita. So then they had to buy it from her. Lowe of Lerner and Lowe didn't want to work in Hollywood, but when they were like, well, we'll film in France and we'll be able to like write the songs while we're in France, he was like,
great,
well, I guess I can get a free trip.
Bonjour.
The character of Honoré was basically written for Chevalier. They wrote it for him in mind. They took the songs to him, they played them, and he was like, great, sounds great, sign me up. So he was like the first one cast in the thing. Okay. He's not a character he's like a referenced character in the book, and then in the play he like has a couple scenes, but like is not a major character like the way he is in the film. But the mom is a major character in the book, in the play, and she is completely written out in the movie. She's just appears as like a opera singer practicing
off stage. Yeah,
which is very interesting.
Yeah.
They filmed at so they did film in Paris. They took advantage of the good weather. They actually had filmed, because the good weather came so quickly, they weren't totally ready. They actually filmed the songs. The songs hadn't been studio recorded yet, so they were just lip syncing to piano accompaniment tracks. They weren't actually lip syncing to the actual songs yet, which is
David Hopper got a lot of ideas from that.
Yes, Tom Hooper. Tom Hooper. David Hopper. Just a name
fully made up.
David Hopper, I think is isn't he the character? Isn't he the sheriff? And
David is the actor's first name, and Hopper is the character.
Hopper is the character in Stranger Things,
and also like a very different energy than Tom Hooper.
Very much so. They filmed one of the places they filmed at, besides obviously filming at like iconic locations outdoors. They filmed at a restaurant called Maxim, which is a Belle Epoque Art Nouveau energy restaurant that's still open in Paris. It's really famous. It was like very hard to shoot because there's mirrors all around, but that's part of the beauty of it. And so they had to like figure out how to film it just so that they didn't, you didn't see any of the crew or any of the cameras, blah, blah, blah. They had to like do low light levels. And then they got to Hollywood and they were like, this Lerner, or I think it was Lerner, was like, this looks bad. We need to reshoot it. So they had to rebuild. They had to basically rebuild the set of Maxim in Hollywood to refilm the
At least
sequence.
they could decide where the mirrors were then.
Yeah, I guess that made it maybe 10% easier.
Yikes.
But that's crazy. And then the initial cut came out. Audiences were like pleasantly surprised. But Alan Lerner thought it was too long and that there were some things that needed to be cut. So but in order to have done that, it would have taken like 11 days of reshoots and $300,000. And Arthur Freed, who was the producer, was like, I'm not willing to front that money. So Lerner and Lowe offered to buy 10% of the film for $300,000 and then sold the print back to MGM, I think is how it works. I don't really know how any of this actually shook out, but that was what I was trying to understand. It says offered to buy 10% of the film for $300,000 and offered $3 million for the print. So maybe they offered $3 million to pay for the print. I don't know. I don't know, guys.
So did they do the reshoots?
They did the reshoots, and it's 20 minutes shorter than what it was originally.
Well, thank you, Lerner.
Which is nice because I will say at least it was under 2 hours. I still think it felt long, but it could have been 20 minutes worse.
But we got TikTok attention spans over here, so
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no dance challenges in this. No dance in it, actually.
Dance. Really smart to cast Leslie Caron. A famed dancer for this non-dance role. Speaking of Leslie Caron, she was living in England when they approached her to do this role, and they were like, well, she's French, blah, blah, blah. She's in MGM's wheelhouse. They approached her, and then they were like shocked at how anglicized she was. Like she basically had a British accent at this point. She like barely has a French accent in this film, which is very interesting.
Sorry, have you ever had the experience of talking to someone who learned English but with a British accent, and then you have like both a British accent and then like the accent of whatever language they originally, like when I went to France in high school, I like lived with a host family, and then I met the English teacher of the girl whose house I was staying in, and the English teacher in France spoke with a British accent, but like also a French. She also had like a French accent because she was like originally a French speaker who had learned it as British English, and it was like so bizarre.
It was like a hat on a hat.
It was a hat on a hat.
That actually happens a lot in K-pop groups. There's one group that we listen to that has one Australian member. And so when everyone speaks English, they speak with kind of a pseudo Australian accent
because they hear him
speak. And it kind of sounds British because it's like a Korean accent speaking like kind of British.
Yeah.
And weird. On TikTok, I follow a lot of, or I get a lot of Filipinos in Australia, funny enough. So it's like funny hearing like Filipino accents with full Australian accents.
Yeah. Or even there's that one season where there's a Filipino guy on British Bake Off.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hearing like a thick Filipino accent, but with
the British pronunciation.
Yeah. Now we're just describing the experience that like every single human being who knows any English and has ever watched American media with a person that has an accent experience. It's like all British people, if they watch American television that features a character with any accent, they have the same experience of like, well, they have their native tongue accent plus an American accent. Like we just think that Americans doesn't have an accent, but like, it's
we don't.
This is just the normal way to talk.
This is just this is standard.
And that's what we fought for.
That's what we fought for
on July 4th.
On July 4th. That was what the Mariah papers were about or whatever. So
the Reynolds pamphlet.
The Mariah, you're just thinking
Mariah papers. The Mariah papers.
Why are you so obsessed with the Reynolds one? No.
Fun facts. Okay. The cat is heavily drugged that she picks up during her song. Something about being happy. I don't remember what the song is called.
There were songs in this? I'm genuinely
They're spoken. They're spoken songs. You might have missed some of them. The cat was drugged because it would react violently to Leslie Caron, but Vincent Minnelli was like, I don't care. This is the cat we're using. This cat is so good.
They couldn't have gotten a different cat. That was not an option.
Well, this cat was top billed, number one of the call sheet.
Yeah, I guess if they had
Gigi, starring Leslie Caron.
Maybe they had already started shooting with this cat, and he was like, I'm not willing to do the work to find another cat that looks the same enough. It's easier to
I think it was the cat who said, I'm not willing to
I think the cat was the one who was like, I'm not flying to Hollywood for reshoots.
The cat said, I'm not willing to calm down.
I am not flying to Hollywood.
And then the last fun fact that I have is that the day after this movie won and we don't do stuff like this anymore. This is like the fun, stupid bullshit of like mid-century American culture that I feel like we've lost. The day after they won the Academy Award for Best Picture, the operators for the phones at MGM were told that they needed to answer all calls that day.
In French?
Hello, MGGM.
Wait, that's amazing.
Molly doesn't like
that's
it.
Synergy.
Molly does not like it.
Molly, that's synergy. That's when,
that's synergy, Molly.
This is my, as you were talking about the cute mid-centuryness of it, this is why I don't connect with drag queens that are doing like a 50s, 60s.
Oh, yeah.
You would hate me on Drag Race.
Yeah, you would hate her on Drag Race.
Yeah, I mean, I love Trixie because I love her humor, and I think she's talented.
Her aesthetics
she really stopped doing. She's kind of really doing the 60s. I think she still has the aesthetic, but she never played like.
She never went.
The personality is not the 60s.
That's Dela.
And I don't like Dela that much. I mean, I
Turner.
What Dela's doing, like, not objectively, intellectually, but I don't connect with it. You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not? Okay, you don't do the mid-cent queens, but do you do like old Hollywood queens? So like the very like
the 40s glam,
the 40s trans.
Well, I love Jinx. Are we putting Jinx in that category?
Yeah,
Jinx feels outside of that because Jinx has her own fully like.
But I will say, she wasn't doing old Hollywood glam, but in her original season, she like her character voice had like that. What is that?
The Judy impression is obviously iconic.
Yeah,
I mean, really, I love a trash queen. I love Adore. I love Alaska. Willem. Jinx, I think, can be a trash queen sometime. A queen who's a mess. That's what I love.
I hope this isn't your closer, but I'm just picturing Jinx Monsoon as like Aunt Alicia in a Gigi.
Oh, she'd eat.
Oh. Are you sure you don't want that to be my closer?
Are you sure? Make an all drag Gigi.
It's not like she came up with a closer, so it doesn't matter.
She never writes them down. Adam, scroll down.
It's better when it comes organically out of the
organically. That's teaching 101.
Process.
That's education.
Yeah, being within the moment.
I have nothing else to share about the background of this movie. There were 100 billion trivia things on IMDb, and I got through like halfway through the page. And I was like, these aren't even fun, guys. These are just numbers. These are names that nobody cares about. These are like, here's the permits they pulled to film in front of this fountain. And I'm like, girl, it's not fun.
No.
Give me the fun. So if you listener go to the Gigi IMDb page and scroll through that trivia thing, which famously is not fact checked in any way whatsoever, people can just write anything they want on there.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll find something better. But
yeah, Leslie Caron stabbed a man during the filming of Gigi.
Yeah.
Oh, now that would be a fun challenge. See what kind of trivia you can get away with adding to IMDb on the episodes or the movies that we cover on here.
She did say Hermione Gingold, like she said, she was very like warm and like really funny. She was not like severe like the character is. Obviously, she said Maurice Chevalier was a little aloof. And that the guy who played, what was his name? Something Jourdan. I took
Jean Jourdan. Dean Jordan?
Louis Jourdan. That he was like really annoyed with Vincent Minnelli, but he couldn't take it out on the director, so he would just complain to Leslie all shoot and be like, they would like cut the camera scene. He was like, oh my God, whatever. And she was like, okay.
But that's French, Diva. That is French. So French to be like, he does not know anything.
It is French, but it's also, oh my gosh, it's so tiring to have like a coworker who's like always complaining. And you're like, I didn't think any of this happened.
Diva, I didn't do any. I'm in the same boat as you, girl.
Yeah.
So there's 3 more fun facts, guys. I just found 3 more. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think Molly yawning right now. I think is the energy.
I can't stay awake anymore. I'm middle-aged. Yeah.
It's lore now of like, throw Gigi on. Grandma Molly wants to go to sleep. That's what your kids will be doing someday. Just throw Gigi on. And
Allie one time called me Grandma Molly at a wedding because of how many layers I was wearing because I'm so cold all the time.
You are wearing a lot of layers right now.
I'm wearing a hoodie.
It gets chilly at night in Southern California.
San Diego, Adam.
I'm sitting on my couch still. Okay, what do you want from me?
Comfortable. Meanwhile, Adam and I are steaming because we live in a damn attic.
We do. It's 78 in our apartment.
It's currently 78 degrees.
Nah, that's San Diego coastal temperate weather. Keeps on going. I was just looking at the heat maps of the places that have like really bad weather right now, and San Diego's little bubble of no, we're all good here. We're fine. So
we're fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, this was
Gigi.
fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gigi.
There you go. And there's Gigi.
Yeah, how old is she?
This is the thing. And there's no clear like time jump in the movie to be like, oh, and then there's a montage sequence and
where it's like
older.
He's seeing her later in life where she has like
she's her outfit, and I understand that this is because we are children of, we are millennial children. This was a piece of formative culture as children. She looks like Madeline at the beginning of this film with the big hat and the like cloak coat thing.
I'm Madeline. School uniform.
She is clearly in school.
Yes.
I may be very small. I'm Madeline, but inside I'm tall.
Wow.
She may be teeny tiny.
No, keep going. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, tell us more about how teeny tiny she is. That's a good look for us to have.
Good look for us.
This.
But is there an age gap between the actors?
So this is a good question. So let me look up.
Because I wonder if let's get an actress that is obviously
I think I looked it up. I think she was 27 actually, which was
Leslie Caron was born in 31.
And Louis Jourdain
was born in 08. Oh, no, wait.
No.
Jour.
D-A-I, yeah.
He was born in 21. So they're 10 years apart.
10 years apart. And I think she was in her mid to late 20s. So that's not
58. Yeah.
That's not crazy, obviously. Right. I wouldn't. I think she was 27. So if I knew somebody who was 27 who was with a 37-year-old in my life, I would not.
Right, but that's not. The characters are not that.
But the characters are not that. No.
But I do think by her acting, it didn't give me the vibe that she had to put on acting young. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You didn't feel uncomfortable with the portrayal because you knew that it was clear the actors were adults. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You weren't you were intellectually this isn't great, but it's not like I'm watching.
But it's not it's not giving me the ick because it's if I'm watching if it was her first movie. Yeah.
It's 30-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Yeah. Grease. Yeah.
Sure. Grease. Great example. Yes.
Grease 2.
Even better.
Great movie. Even.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I'm going to say probably supposed to be 15.
I was actually going to say, 14. It's actually, I feel like it's probably worse.
Yeah.
Because it's tough because during the song, he's with younger girls. Do you know what I mean? So it's meant to be and here's a peer of these girls. Someone who's just up there.
So in France, under the Napoleonic Code, the age of consent was set in 18. And I'm assuming age of consent would be age of consent for to get married. That would be the age of consent is my guess.
I mean, I would think also sexual contact is sort of a byproduct of that. Right? I mean,
because they're assuming you're not having sex when you're married anyway.
Yeah. But I don't know
it's all one and the same.
I don't know if also there was such a thing as statutory rape in the Napoleonic.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I think all cultures have also always understood that there's a minimum age that should be set for that sort of thing.
Yes.
I don't know what the history is that far back of
I'm happy to tell you
process. Oh, you're happy to tell me?
So under Napoleonic Code, age of consent in 1832 was set at age 11.
Ugh.
In 1863, it was raised to 13. And in 1945, it was increased to 15. So she's Definitely 13.
We have to assume that she's 45 because this was in the 50s, right? So it would have been, she should have been 15 at least.
No, but the movie is turn of the century.
Turn of the century.
The story is set turn of the
century.
Let's
assume that they used. Let's assume that they used what felt like the norms of the 50s at the very least.
The other thing I could do is Gigi is the story itself is technically based on a real person.
Oh,
it's like inspired by a real person.
Okay.
So I can look up that person's, it was Yola Letellier, who was born in 1904, died in 1996, a French socialite and the wife of a newspaper owner.
Okay, there you go. Just as teenager. Oh, marriage.
She was his third wife. Okay, this is not.
She was born in 1904. When did they get married? 1930. No, that's his.
She observed the newlyweds in 1926. So
22.
She's born in 04. She's 22.
Okay. You almost said 1913, which would have been she would have been 9 when they got married. So let's be happy it wasn't that.
It was like 1913 was when he got his last promotion.
Oh, okay. Something unrelated. Good.
As an entrepreneur in French Indochina. Thrilling.
Oh, sure.
So somewhere in that area. She's definitely not 18.
She is a teenager.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna get that off the bat. We understand. Okay. We understand. I want to hear it.
Okay.
And it's not even I know that's a part of a challenge of them getting together, but I don't even get I felt like it wasn't important and this is a hurdle they had to get through that she is young. You know what I mean?
No, because he doesn't feel terribly older than her.
I mean, I don't.
It's not like he's
confusing because he is an independent adult going around the world.
Yeah,
and I don't know how much of that to attribute to gender versus age. But they're not playing it like he's middle-aged and she's a teenager.
Right. That's what I mean.
It's more she's a teenager and he's in his 20s, I think.
He's like a young bachelor.
Yeah. But he's been around in society enough that his whole deal at the beginning of the movie is just saying he finds everything boring. So he
sings it.
He didn't just debut into society last year. I don't think either. I know I didn't ever do that, but you know what I'm saying? He's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm. He's been around for sure.
But I guess not for that long too, because there's this whole thing. This is such a crazy introduction to the society that he breaks up with his mistress and then she attempts suicide and then everyone congratulates him on his first suicide.
Yeah.
So I guess he is meant to be on the younger end since he had only caused one suicide so far. She survives the attempt.
She survives. It's a failed suicide.
It's meant to be clear to you that it was a not genuine attempt. It was a dramatic choice that she made, and we're not meant to, as viewers, fear that her life was ever truly in danger.
And she's done it before.
She's done it multiple times.
She's done it before. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, this movie is wild. This won 9 Oscars.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
And do you think it is was it just, did it feel like it was so lavish that you're wow, oh my God, I'm escaping? I'll
tell you what it is. And this is going to give away my MVP. It's Toulouse-Lautrec. It is the way that this movie is a compilation of scenes of Toulouse-Lautrec paintings.
Yeah.
There's so many poses. There's so many vivid settings and costumes and et cetera, that it is truly a painting of a movie.
I also think yes, I do think it's that. I also think there is a level of, this comes out in 1958. My Fair Lady opened on Broadway, I believe, in 54 or 55. I think it's in one of the reviews I have, I think it says it's been running on Broadway for 3 years. It was the longest running Broadway production in history at that point. My Fair Lady cast album was one of the highest like record sales of all time in the 50s. Like everyone had it in their homes. And I do think there's a level of like the movie does not get made until 64. So this kind of fills a gap for people wanting that experience, but not being able to like go see, My Fair Lady in New York or anything. And Hollywood gets to be like, and look, we did it. We brought Lerner and Lowe to, you know what I mean?
And let's be clear that the comparison we're making is the Lerner and Lowe working on the project. And then it's also the makeover element, because in the movie halfway through, when they realize, we should get Gigi together with Gaston, they do all of this work to get her to like a place of being socially acceptable enough and being out in society. So like we are not implying that Eliza Doolittle was a courtesan, just to be
no. True. There is some correct. There is some interesting stuff about like the Eliza. I mean, I do think it would be a good one to do because we did it before Molly was on the pod.
Oh, okay.
But it would be a good one to bring back into the thing to talk about. But
maybe at the end of the year, maybe it wins the award.
But anyway, I think it's interesting too, because the other thing, it is a Lerner and Lowe, but we also had just watched Brigadoon, which is also a Lerner and Lowe, but does not sound like either of these two. Like My Fair Lady and Gigi sound almost the same.
Yeah, they feel like true comparisons.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So that's what I find.
mean, like he has his own song. He has his own version of like, what is it? Something about her face? What is it?
I've grown accustomed
to her face.
Yes, the song Gigi.
Something about her face.
There's something about a damn face.
Over
that
there.
Girl's face. There's
I sure do remember that face.
Yeah. And it's basically he had his soliloquy. Yeah. In the second act, in the second half of where he's like, do I love her? She's a child. She's a child, but she's not like every other girl. She's got something else.
Yeah, she has a song, Say a Prayer for Me Tonight, that actually was cut from the tryouts of My Fair Lady. So it used to be, it was originally an Eliza Doolittle song that they just were like, well,
wow, they just repurposed it. Yeah.
Very cool order in that way.
Well, and the other one that was like,
everyone does it.
I felt like it was a very one-to-one. First of all, the other thing that is crazy about the Gigi song is, yes, it sounds like, I've grown accustomed to her face, but he's walking through Paris like what's his name in My Fair Lady, where he sings On the Street Where You Live. He's like doing that action he like fills both roles in that regard.
Yeah.
And then the other one I noticed is like when they go to Maxim, the restaurant, and everybody's staring at each other. That felt very
Ascot Gavotte for sure.
Where it's because even when like this is really this is
when
very similar.
When they're walking, like each couple gets walked in and they all look like, and then they all talk about their what's the scandal that's happening with each couple.
And there is something very Audrey Hepburn about Leslie Caron.
Yeah, they're similar visually. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it does. It was like I felt there were parts of the movie where I was like,
"Am I watching My Fair Lady?"
Or just like you just feels like deja vu. Like it's like it's so close that it's like, but it's just off enough that you're like.
Even the white dress that she wears when they go out on the town together, and then the white dress that Audrey wears in the Ascot
to the ball.
How kind of you to let me come.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of the white lace dress at the horse race, but actually, the dress she wears to the ball is even more similar to the white dress.
Yeah. So that's all I think really fascinating. I don't think this is my take on the movie. I think it's like fine. I think it's I think we've now watched multiple Vincent Minnellis, and I'm getting more bored with each one that we watch, which is like a bummer because like he's so known he's famed for this, but like he really, what is it that made
Sarsborn?
No, the St. Louis one. Mimi in St. Louis. What is it about that one that made it feel so? Is it just because I don't even know?
Is it because it felt like it was stories and not like? So
it was
there's built-in breaks basically.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Do you think this movie would have been better as a straight, not a musical adaptation?
No.
I couldn't
say more. Okay.
Yeah. Because I did feel like sometimes the songs were so repetitive.
Yeah.
And didn't differ.
Only Gigi sings.
Well,
she's like the only one who actually sings.
Everyone is like, what is that, recitative?
Not even. I think maybe they didn't really cast singers as one issue. And then the other is that it does feel like it's like generic brand version of My Fair Lady with the music. For similar
sure.
enough, but nothing really memorable. But I do think that the tone of it being a musical works for this. I think that I'm not in the story without it being at the level of a musical.
Yeah, there's still something about the story that feels like it should be in a heightened place where it's like this could only happen in a musical.
My favorite song. Go ahead. I'm going to say this and then I'll play the song. Okay. My favorite song in this whole thing is not The Night They Invented Champagne. It's not Molly's favorite song. Thank Heaven for Little Girls.
My favorite song, God Bless Marine Le Pen.
God bless Marine Le Pen. It's not RJ's favorite song, Gigi. My favorite song is I Remember It Well, which is the duet between Honore and Mamita.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play it because it's so fun.
It felt familiar. I was like, have I already heard the song before? And I don't think I have.
It does feel like it should be in like a musical theater showcase. It's good.
It's like a standard.
What's the word for it? A thing that has two people in it, but like
a duet.
but no, there's a thing for a comedic back and forth or something. Two-hander.
We met at 9.
We met at 8.
I was on time.
No, you were late.
Ah, yes? I remember it well. We dined with friends.
We dined alone.
A tenor sang.
A baritone.
Ah, yes. I remember it well. That dazzling April moon.
There was none that night, and the month was June.
That's right. That's right.
It warms my heart to know that you remember still the way you do.
Ah, yes. I remember it well.
I think that song is like it's so different from all the others because first of all, it's like I think the only real like duet in the whole thing, but it's like you get just a glimpse of these characters' past that they keep alluding to through all these like little bits of dialogue. And it reminds me of, I think really my favorite song from Fiddler on the Roof, which is Do You Love Me?
Yeah.
And the way there's a reminiscence on their past and it's like, it's fondness, but it's not
regret.
It's not regret, but it's not like we need to rekindle anything. It's just like a clean understanding.
It's
of
the ending of Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
It's the ending of Umbrellas of Cherbourg, an appreciation of what had come.
Yeah,
without being rose-colored lenses about it.
I think what I like so much about it, it's very funny, the number of things that he gets wrong, but also that it has a very romantic melody, and I feel like what's underneath the song is like, yes, he gets every detail wrong, but there's an emotional truth to what he remembers that still is endearing to her, even though he gets all of the specifics wrong.
And genuinely, I think if this song was not in it, I would like him less as a character.
Yeah.
He already is like
about loving little girls. So
yeah, he starts to show really, really, really in a bad spot.
Yeah, he really, they introduce us with what's the worst way that we could introduce you to this character and how do we climb up from there? Yeah.
And I don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to give them like the 1958 benefit of the doubt and be like, of course we are, especially in 2024, mired in everyone calls everyone else a pedophile currently in like on social media. It's truly a nightmare. So I was like, okay, like, yes, we're fully in that moment, everybody's talking about Epstein Island, right? Like it's just in the culture. That's just discussions are being discussed. But I was like, I can't even give this a generous read. Like, what am I?
We have to play the song and we have to talk about it. When you play like the end of the song.
Well, of course, Molly's asking to play the song.
I just love it so much.
I love it so much. Actually, don't play it, Molly. Why don't you sing it for us?
Get it out of your book.
Get it out of your book. Get your 16 bars out.
Every audition, this is the only song I ever ever sang.
And they're like, Molly, this is Seussical. Okay, play it.
They're preparing us in theater school, and they were like, you need a ballad and you need an upbeat number. And I was like, I will be singing Thank Heaven Little Girls. I don't care what they've asked for.
I don't care.
What I will.
I can sing it as a ballad or as an upbeat. You know, that's the beauty of the song.
Thank Heaven, my little girl.
Yes. Hey.
I can swing it.
Each time I see a little girl of 5 or 6 or 7,
What? No.
I can't resist a joyous urge to smile and say thank heaven for little girls. For little girls get bigger every day. Thank heaven for little girls. They grow up in the most delightful way. Those little eyes so helpless and appealing, one day will flash and send you crashing through the ceiling.
So, okay, let's.
Did you want me to keep going?
No, I think
she'll take it from
full
here.
Verse is great. I think. Okay, let's try to give full credit to the song. Right, he is not expressing actual attraction for little girls. He is talking about how when he talks about the things that will make them attractive someday, it is traits that they will gain as they become actual women. Mm-hmm. We know that Gigi hasn't quite gotten there yet, in our opinion, but you know, whatever. And he says, like, without them, what would little boys do? So he's saying, like, you know, when you're little, you have a crush on a little girl. We understand. He's not actually.
There is like a point of it being about like the innocence of like childhood and like how that's very sweet and whatever. That is the most generous reading we could give this.
Right. Yes. I think the problem is like, especially with like, does he say naivete in their eyes or innocence in their eyes or something like that? Yeah. There is still a sense of what continues to make women appealing is that they still have the innocence to them, right? Yeah. It's the sexy baby syndrome. So I think that...
I mean, we don't need to know what you and your boyfriend are into. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you can keep that to yourself, Molly.
Sure, yeah. The reference I made to a Taylor Swift lyric, I'm sure, is something that people could interpret as a sexual reference. I think that... Yeah, I think in the 50s, this wasn't written to be cringy, obviously. Right. But and the fact that it's a musical about her being like just barely old enough for us to groom her.
Literally, she's barely legal.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough.
But the whole thing, I mean, we can like be angry about it. But the whole thing is started by her own like female family members who were like, well, it's time. I mean, it is interesting. I was going to say it's interesting that a woman wrote the novel, a woman wrote the play. It's really about I mean, the women are the drivers of the plot. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there's a lot of male gaze to this, but it's also not like a story about men doing this to women. It's a story about women sort of perpetuating this themselves. Yes. Having a hand in perpetuating it. Yeah.
Isn't there a sentiment about the show too? Sentiment. Like getting married isn't the only way for like a woman to get out. Like, is there a feeling of like being a courtesan?
I mean, look, maybe there are interpretations like that. And I don't want to tell anyone that they're wrong for how they interpret feminism. But if you're watching Gigi and you're like, this is empowering, that it's not just about getting married, I think that you have a very narrow view of what it is that you think is problematic about women aspiring to marriage. Because the problem with the whole only aspiring to marriage thing is not really like literally the legal document. It's about like your whole existence being to be at the pleasure of men. And I don't really feel Gigi has escaped that in any way. So
you don't?
I don't feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, she doesn't want to do any of that, right? And
that's another thing. It's like almost, I don't want to say you could get away with the age thing if she was more into it. Because I'm not saying like, well, if a 15-year-old wants to marry a 25-year-old letter, I'm just saying at least it could be a musical about like what if it was like she's still at school, but she's like about to be done, and she's kind of like bursting at the seams to like get out there in the world and experience things, and she's interested in this. But it's like her being like, I don't get why people are so obsessed with all of this. I'm not interested in these lessons. I'm not interested in love. Nothing about what I am being railroaded into doing by my family is of interest to me.
Yeah. I wonder if so I was reading that like the Hays production code, when they got the script, they like pushed back because they were like, this is like, it's about a fucking courtesan, guys. Like, you can't do this or whatever. You can't make this. And so Arthur Freed had to like basically be like, well, really, it's an indictment of being a courtesan at the end of the day because she ends up a legitimate woman and she gets saved from this horrible environment. So really the problem is that, and she gets saved out of that. And so I guess that's how they get around it. But there were more lines between Aunt Alicia and Mamita when they have kind of the realization of like, oh, it's time for her to like begin and get into it, that they had to like cut their lines basically in half and like not finish sentences and just give each other looks, which I do remember that scene being like, this is a really I don't really know what they're saying in this scene. So
many layers of Hays code,
like the way to get around it. Cause they allowed the line where she said into another man's bed. The Hays code allowed that line, but they had to cut all the ones between Aunt Alicia and So I wonder if in the novella, and obviously the novella can flesh things out further than a film can, obviously. I wonder if there is more, because it does feel like Mamita has Aunt Alicia is purely almost like business-like in the transaction of like, you need to do this for your career.
Yeah.
And Mamita has that bit where she's like, you don't even really know. She has a line where she says, you don't know her. And it's kind of after everything has seemed to fall apart that she says that. But I wonder if there's further in the novel or the novella of like that there's more of a clashing of what to do with Gigi, because while she is sending her over there, maybe she's like, but is this the right way? Because it seems like Aunt Alicia was also a courtesan. That seems like why she's teaching her. But I don't think Mamita was. Because that's why she's her.
Does she have a grandfather that's in the?
Well, this is what's interesting. She wears black the whole movie, so I wondered if she is a widow, and that's what they're kind of alluding to with her always in black, except for when they go to the beach and she gets to wear white. But but then she obviously had that romance with Honore. We don't know when that was.
Yeah,
but he talked about wanting to marry her.
Yeah,
but. I'm not gonna lie. I would be interested in reading the novella.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Mamita is really a character that exists so much to be a mother figure for Gigi and to comfort her and everything like that. And so we have that one song between her and Honore, but otherwise we don't really know much about her life.
Correct.
So it would be interesting to know more about her background. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just kept thinking of like a lot of this film, even though they're not really similar at all, this film reminded me so much of Umbrellas of Cherbourg. And so then I was thinking of the mom in that film a lot too, and how she like contrasts with.
Right. Like I'm caring, but also.
Because even that movie was like about don't marry this guy because a richer man could come along. Yeah. And that movie is fully about like just marry rich.
Story. Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And not like be a
working girl.
Yeah, literally. But,
I mean, I guess that's the thing too that's so interesting about so much of marriage for so long for women. It was like it's your one economic decision that you get to make. That it didn't occur to me that this was in any way like not about marriage because they were talking about the financial impact of which man she would be with. That I just was like, yeah, that's part of getting married at this time, is like considering what sort of financial opportunities it will present to you. It didn't seem in conflict at all, which sort of reflects interestingly on the society.
And I mean, that's why they have that whole sequence where they like look at the jewels and she's like, well, make sure they're good ones. She has the really funny line about calling one of them she calls it's like a gold diamond. She calls it a topaz. Yeah. And Alicia like has a hissy fit. It's very funny. There is a lot of like small little like jokes that aren't like I'm gonna laugh out loud, but they are like ha 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 ha. Yeah, witty, I guess.
Holding about the dipped pearls.
The dipped pearls. Dipped.
Yeah.
Dipped. RJ, did you want to share anything about the bird?
The bird.
The bird they eat.
The bird. So in the first lesson that they have, oh my God, what is the name of the bird? Ortolan.
Is that the first lesson? I feel like that's a little further into it that they eat the bird, right?
No, it's the first lesson that we see and they tell him like, oh yeah, or they tell Gigi that they've prepared lunch.
Oh yeah, I think they just refer to an earlier lesson where she ate something more complicated. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What is it called again?
Ortolan. The line in the film is bad table manners have broken up more homes than infidelity, which again is a gay man wrote that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, what is this? What are ortolans? And I was quickly horrified.
This is horrifying.
About the process that, so if you're
they're currently outlawed, right?
Yes. If you're an animal lover, please skip ahead. So it is like high luxury food to eat. It is like a small bird that you kind of like that you do eat whole. Like they like cook it all at once. It's like fully poached in like butter and then like cooked so you eat the bones and stuff. But people eat actually with their with their napkin over their heads.
This is the succession thing.
Yes, this is the succession thing because it's like so quote unquote like sinful and immoral to eat it, because they trap these birds
in the forest,
kind of like desensitize them, like put them in like a black box, and they only eat like grains, millets to make them tasty, basically fatten them up, and fry them up, and then they drown them in butter.
Wasn't it bourbon? Brandy.
Brandy.
They drown them while they're alive in brandy, and then pluck them, and then cook them, and you eat them with the bones.
You know, a lot of birds get killed in theater, and we got Miss Julie, we got there's a lot of birds that are symbolically killed.
Birds constantly symbols. Birds. Yeah. I feel like more than any other animal.
Probably. That's an interesting question. What's the most symbolic animal?
Yeah.
Can you tell
Doves probably, right?
Doves is too obvious. Obvious.
But if you're saying what's the most symbolic, like
yeah, I guess then yeah.
Seeing a white dove is the most symbolic, I feel like.
Yeah.
Peace on earth. But
anyway, this practice is very much frowned upon. Although it's still like it can still happen, obviously, but
hey, they don't even put the tablecloth over their faces in this one. They're just going for it.
No, they're just going for it.
Yeah.
The line I alluded to earlier, by the way, about getting married, instead of getting married at once, it sometimes happens we get married at last. That is the line.
Which I, again, not understanding they were courtesans, thought was quite romantic. You know what?
I did too.
I think it's a romantic line.
Even with courtesans.
I think it's lovely to think about, you know, you got all the time in the world to find the one that you want to get married to.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they're basically being like, it's not about love. That really is where she's coming from. Annalisa is coming from. Like, you have all the time in the world to be in love.
Yeah.
I am curious. I don't know if there is like evidence behind it or like, you know, factual whatever behind it, but like because this came out in 58, it was very successful. Like, were we still living in like a cultural like we're still romanticizing kind of like being swept away by a man type story, especially like here set in France before like the 60s drop?
I think that's never ended.
Currently in that moment right now.
But like enough to win all 9 Oscars and make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How did this? I mean, what was it up against? What?
Like, were we that deprived of it that like?
Oh God, weren't we all deprived? Best motion picture that year, Gigi, Auntie Mame, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, The Defiant Ones, and Separate Tables.
Auntie Mame that we watched?
No, the not musical
the film version.
Okay, the film. Okay.
The film. Who's in that Cat on a Hot Tin Roof? It's
Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know the Defiant ones, and I don't know Subtitles.
No.
Oh yeah, who won actress was Susan
Hayward, and I Want to Live
as Barbara Graham.
Rosalind Russell was the auntie name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Rosalind Russell was auntie name.
Rosalind Russell.
Yes, because we talked about her because she did this. I think this was a year or two after King and I, which is what she was in that we watched.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Sure. It's all a blur.
It's all connecting.
We keep going. We're in France. We're out of France. You know,
the web is being woven.
Yeah. The Showgays universe, cinematic universe.
Let's listen to a little bit of The Night They Invented Champagne, and then I have tea on Leslie Caron singing.
Oh.
The night they invented champagne, it's plain as it can be. They thought of you and me. The night they invented champagne, they absolutely knew that all we'd want to do is fly to the sky on champagne and shout to everyone in sight that since the world began, no woman or man has ever been as happy as we are tonight.
This is
it's all I hear is when I hear Hermione sing, all I hear is Eulalie McKechnie.
But her scolding her while she's so excited is literally the night
in My Fair Lady.
In My Fair Lady. What's
yes, the piano song where she's like that one.
No, where she's. I can't do this well.
Yeah, my brain cannot process your conversation at the same time as this song. Okay,
we were fully having. We might as well have had a full conversation about like, so what are we getting for dinner tomorrow?
Her being so excited singing this song and getting scolded,
and then being
Mamita
like, yes,
is like in My Fair Lady. She's singing.
I could have danced all night.
Mm-hmm. And the housekeeper is like, okay, go to bed.
Yeah. Can I guess what the tea is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was it dubbed by the same woman who does Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady?
It was not dubbed by the same woman who does Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady.
Identical.
Very similar. No, it is dubbed by a lovely lady named Betty Wand.
Okay.
Leslie Caron was under the impression that she would be singing this role in the film. And then she was told once they were filming, they were no, you're being dubbed. So she was like shocked. So she was like, fine, I want to go to the tape, like the recording sessions of when she does it so that I can give her notes on like what emphasis I would be placing on the song. So she can do it the way I would basically like emulate the way I would like act.
Everyone's dream to be micromanaged in this way.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So she goes and does this. And then she said later, I think in her memoir, her autobiography, I don't know which one, but she said that it was a nightmare listening back because she was like, Betty Wand sounded like her fake French accent was so grating on the ears. She like couldn't listen to it. It was so frustrating. Because I guess, she's clearly she says roulette.
Yeah.
So it's like when I try to do French, that's the energy. Roulette. So poor Leslie.
Sorry, Leslie.
I felt like her singing though. Did she sing in American?
That's what I was trying to remember. I don't remember her singing.
Role. Isn't there a duet she has with Gene Kelly?
She does a duet on the set.
Yeah.
Don't they sing to each other?
There was some singing, yeah.
There was some singing. I thought her voice was fine. Also, it's not a very hard.
It's not a very hard song.
Mm-hmm. All of her songs are not very difficult.
Yeah.
And it's not like. It was weird to me to have her dubbed because I feel like it could have been fine, especially when everyone else is not singing. Yeah. So at least just one person uttering a tune would have been thrilling.
They really could have used one like true chanteuse in this, I think, to make the music a little more.
I think one true chant I would have appreciated.
Anybody, just any song, a song, just one.
Just one song. Well, we did, but it wasn't the one we wanted. It starts with a song, but I did not want that song.
Didn't want anything to do with it.
It's not for me. Let's talk about the title song Gigi, which apparently Lerner said in his autobiography was the most proud he's ever been of writing a song.
Can you actually play it? Because I don't remember.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't remember.
There was a song called Gigi.
Granted, I barely remember any men's songs in musical theater. I think men's songs, by and large, are boring.
Yeah.
Gigi, am I a fool without a mind? Or have I merely been too blind to realize?
Is this supposed to be sung?
It has a probably written melody, but they were like, just say it.
Why, you've been growing up before my eyes. Gigi, you're not at all that funny, awkward little girl I knew. Oh no, overnight there's been a breathless change in you. Oh, Gigi. While
You're telling me the man who wrote On the Street Where You Live thinks that this is his best work. The melody
I don't want to be the one saying
it's nice, but it's not
perfectly pleasant.
It does not hold a candle to anything in My Fair Lady.
Not at all.
No.
Not all of these songs are B-rate My Fair Lady songs. Yeah. It's so embarrassing. How are you not embarrassed writing this?
My Fair Lady straight to home video, girl.
Yeah. This is a Disney sequel in the 90s.
Yeah. Lion King 1.5, girl. What are you doing?
My Fair Lady 1.5.
The half being that it's in France, not England.
Here's what I will say. Another redeeming factor, though. This man is a snack.
Oh, French men are really attractive.
I don't have a thing for French men the way that many people do. There's not, the accent doesn't like inherently do it for me. Right. This man is just physically perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean him and the guy from Umbrellas. I'm like the great visual casting there.
But also like the costumes are so tailored
to that.
Make them just look like the most. His like all of his suits are just fit so well. Not even in like they're tight or anything. They just like it's the proportions are correct. Yeah.
There was the first scene where he came to Mamita's house and Mamita was like, "Sit down in your chair." And like when he sits down, he pops his vest open so he can sit down, or like his jacket open. I was like, high society.
That's what you're supposed to do.
A gentleman.
Yeah. It's not giving. It's really not. I hate to say it. No.
Can we talk about the turn? The conflict? What would you even call it? Because
it happens twice. So this is the weird part.
Yeah.
So, like he comes upstairs. She sees him. She gets ready. She comes out. She has the dress on. They
go to the party.
No. He freaks out and he goes, "Why do you look like that? You look completely different. Your dress is ugly." Blah, blah, blah.
Talking about the earlier dress, the organ grinder dress.
And then she does this is what he likes about her. She pushes back and she's like, "You have no taste.
You have no taste." Yes.
So he leaves in a huff.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't think of that as like the main conflict.
It's not the main conflict. It's weird that it's the same thing happens later,
but like just higher stakes, basically. Yeah.
So then he realizes he actually does want to take her out. What he likes about Gigi is
she can do that.
She is a singular individual. She's not like all the other girls. The other girls bore her. She does not bore him. He takes her out. She does all the things she's supposed to do, which are the things that bores him. So he freaks out and he's like, "Oh, she's just like all the others."
He freaks out. He takes her home, right? He takes her early.
He takes her home.
Drags her home.
Embarrasses her in front of all of France.
Yeah.
Knowing that even though she did just done a whole thing about being like, "I don't want to be
in the papers talked about
blah, blah, blah." He still does it anyway. Mm-hmm. She cries. He leaves. Then he has a soliloquy. Then he sings Gigi.
He does a bunch of Toulouse Lautrec poses and a top hat. And then he comes
Yes. He goes, they called it creative geography, where he goes from like place to place in Paris that like are miles apart from each other. But in the movie, they're like right next to each other.
It's like one walk.
Yeah. That's how all musicals should be.
That's movies. That's what I want.
Movies.
To be clear, that is not a criticism. Yeah.
That's cinemusical.
Gigi, can I give you some advice? So this
She's listening. She's listening.
She's listening.
Oh, there she is.
This man you have been, let's say, romantically entangled with for, I'm going to say a few weeks, perhaps. And in that time, he has twice suddenly become upset and walked out the door, talked to you about nothing, and then suddenly come back with a different opinion.
In the same night, actually. Yeah.
I can tell you. No, I think, isn't it a different day, the first dress and then taking her out? I feel like, because there's the whole like contract negotiation and stuff in between.
Yeah.
The point is, this is going to happen every day for the rest of your life.
Every day.
This is how this man deals with conflict. It's how he deals with emotions. And so before you make any long-term decisions, I just need you to ask yourself if you can be in a situation where that is how he responds every single time, because it's what's going to happen.
I think she made the decision. I think she said, yeah, I'm ready. She made the
decision without asking my advice. And I would have told her, you're too young to get married. Yeah.
Finish school, maybe.
It is wild. Like, it's funny, Adam, that you're saying like narratively it's weird because he is like, it's like the same beat happens again. But like also
in a man, it's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah. Two things can be true, Molly.
I don't know about that.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So then Gigi has a song. This is say a prayer for me tonight.
Say a prayer for me tonight. I'll need every prayer that you can spare to get me by. Say a prayer, and while you're praying, keep on saying she's much too young to die. Onto your Waterloo whispers my heart. Pray I'll be Wellington, not Bonaparte. Oh, say a prayer for me this evening. Bow your head and please stay on your knees tonight.
This feels like Moon River too.
Yeah.
Everything is Audrey Hepburn.
Wow.
Everything is Audrey Hepburn.
I don't think she needed the cat.
Yeah.
What's
I would like
point?
to point out that you paused it right after Stay on Your Knees, and that was maybe a bit suggestive of you, Adam, but...
Well, I don't play the exact same clip for the...
Oh, okay. Well,
trails off.
Keep
clear that Molly's
in.
never listened to the episodes, so...
Sometimes I do.
When I need to scrub the tub, you know.
When I run out of other podcasts to listen to, I listen to myself.
I don't really think I have much more to say about this musical. I think,
Would you recommend?
No.
I think if
I
you're,
guess for a piece of pure like musical theater history or musical history, I think it's probably important.
Cinema story.
This is not a musical that is like,
well, it's not a musical. Yeah, you're right.
oft referenced or like culturally you need to know
that's true.
Like it's a part of the fabric of pop culture in any way. Like
it feels like it should be like a My Fair Lady Golden Age. Like we watch this all the time, but it feels like a musical that only like real like musical theater people would know, maybe not have seen, but at least would know like, oh yes, I know Gigi is a musical.
I think it's in the category of like okay to skip, but if you're a hardcore musical person, which you likely are if you're listening to this,
Showgays,
it's also not a bad time.
Yeah. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a long time and it's a drag time.
We might need,
not drag, but like a drag.
We might need a fan edit of this one, taking out some of the TikTok challenge of like we let the Gen Z intern edit this video and it's just like the pauses in between or like ums. Yeah, we need that. Cut the fat out,
Thank heaven. Thank heaven. Thank heaven. Thank heaven. Thank heaven.
This is Bosley Crowther's review from the New York Times in 1958. Maybe Mr. Freed didn't realize it, but they just happened to be the gentleman who wrote the book, lyrics, and music for My Fair Lady, now in its third year on Broadway. Also, by possible coincidence, he had Cecil Beaton do the production design, costumes, and scenery for presentation in color and CinemaScope. Mr. Beaton just happens to be the gentleman who designed the My Fair Lady costumes. And what do you think they've come up with? Well, you will probably be amazed, as we're sure Mr. Freed was, to discover they've come up with a musical that bears such a basic resemblance to My Fair Lady that the authors may want to sue themselves. We began to perceive it faintly almost at the start with the colorful introduction of the lively heroine. She's a bright little teenage tomboy living in Paris at the century's turn and highly resistant to the notion insisted upon her by her grandmother and great aunt that she should grow up. Particularly is she resistant to their intention that she should learn all the graces and qualities of a lady so that she may become an accomplished courtesan. The idea of love repels her. She even sings a little song indicating her disgust with Parisians. Does this remind you of anyone? Then, as the picture continues and the hero is clearly built up as an elegant blasé young bachelor with an amiable indifference toward the child, it is plain that he's being set for dazzling when the butterfly bursts from the cocoon. It does, and he is, all in the spirit of good, racy, romantic fun. And to clinch it, he sings a song called Gigi, which lets it be generally known that he's grown accustomed to her face and other allurements. It is a strikingly reminiscent tune. Then he talks about some of the other stuff. Yeah, but yeah, it's My Fair Lady. Mm-hmm. But again, weird that this came out before the movie.
Was there something like, let's work things out now?
What do you mean? Like they were going to learn lessons from producing Gigi before they did the My Fair Lady movie?
Yeah, but then I'm like, MGM has done MGM period stuff.
MGM doesn't do My Fair Lady. Warner Brothers does My Fair Lady. Because Julie Andrews thanks Jack Warner in her Golden Globe acceptance speech.
And then runs away.
The lore in your head, Adam.
It's sick. It's sick, Molly. This next one is from Time Magazine. Do customers get their money's worth? It depends on what they're paying for. Gigi is dressed to kill, but if all the French finery impresses the customers, it also smothers the story. Worse still, the physical exuberance of the production flusters the pensive sensuality of Colette's mood like a poodle in a cage of lovebirds. But in the details, the script sticks strikingly close to the book. Gigi is a dear little French girl whose grand aunt and grandmother have given her a strict upbringing in the finest traditions of their family, which happens to be a family of expensive prostitutes. Gigi's mother is the black sheep. She has sunk to a respectable job as the second lead in the opera comique, and Gigi's guardians are taking no chances with such bad heredity. They drill the little girl in the fundamentals of her profession, the proper way to eat an ortolan, the proper method of saying a jewel, the proper attitude toward marriage. The picture offers an occasional soupçon of French seasoning, some charming le chair de menthe in the scenes involving Maurice Chevalier and Hermione Gingold, a sexless performance from Caron and a lifeless one from Jourdan, a wonderful happy ending which wittily demonstrates that life has more tricks than an old tart, a singable though not memorable musical score, and enough bibelots, furbelows, fichus, berthas, boas, sconces, sockles, credenzas, teapoys, and canterburies to deliriously over-decorate this most ornate of the cinema's recurrent funerals for the fin de siècle.
Oh my God. Who cares? Jeez.
It might just be Sousson.
Are you looking at it?
I didn't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
Sousson.
The occasional sprinkle.
Well, musical score. Bibelots, furbelows, berthas, boas, sconces, socles, credenzas, teapoys.
That's probably supposed to be teapots. I'm assuming that's
just the typo.
Okay. But you know what? I loved all of those. So
I'm for every one of them.
I loved every sconce.
That could be a drag race prompt. It could be a ball, and each queen gets one of those things to inspire.
They have to pick one of those words, and it comes with a box, and they have to create the design based on what's in those boxes. Mm-hmm. So Nymphium will make a dress out of credenza.
There's a credenza in a box.
Yes, a full piece of furniture.
What do the people say on letterboxd.com? Now, I'm going to be honest. It's not looking good for Miss Gigi on letterboxd.com.
Shocking.
She's got a 3.1, so she's, right in the middle. But here are some funny ones. The website was down earlier today, I told Molly, but that's why I don't have them ready.
Okay.
Don't do this.
In front of company? Oh my gosh.
Ellie gave it 2 stars and said, "Me to Vincent Minnelli. Why would you make something so controversial yet so dull?"
What did I write? I wrote something too on my Letterboxd when I entered it in my diary.
This is very brave of you, RJ, to put yourself against the wit of Adam's best picks on Letterboxd.
My review was 1.5 star, and I said, "Girl, where was the singing and dancing?"
Oh, that was
more of a in the moment.
Yeah, 1.5 star. That is brutal.
Matt Singer gave it 2.5 stars and said, "This movie made me realize something about myself. If a movie is going to have singing, I would prefer it to also have dancing." And then David Sims from The Atlantic gave it 4 stars and said, "Maurice Chevalier is just if Lumiere was a dude."
Yeah. Especially when we were listening back to the I Remember It Well, I was like, this is Lumiere.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. RJ, who is your MVP this week?
My MVP is the actress Isabelle Jeans. She's English. Isabelle Jeans.
Who plays Aunt Alicia.
I did like her performance. It didn't feel like she was grating like that. I think you could easily make this character as like the villain. Obviously, there was something still very practical about what she was teaching, and it wasn't being poor sucks. Let's get out of it. It's more about like this is a golden opportunity that
why not aspire to have the finest thing?
Yeah. I really liked the scene where she's like, let's go over the jewels and like being able to identify them. I really like that a lot. And I thought she did a great job. So
a gay man picking a fabulous older woman. How original.
That is the podcast.
Groundbreaking.
As we say from our movie musical, our cine musical podcast called Showgays.
Podcast, yeah. I already said this. My MVP is Toulouse-Lautrec, the painter who created the images that they used to inspire the costuming and sets of this movie. The things that I liked the best about it were moments where I feel like they were just posing as Toulouse-Lautrec paintings. So
yes,
he's my MVP.
Yes. Sure.
My MVP goes out to the production designer who had to recreate Maxim's the restaurant on a soundstage in Hollywood, because I looked up. Let me share my screen again, because I wish we knew.
I
know.
I wish we knew, because we were like the Art Nouveau is so beautiful in the movie. The arches, the squiggly lines, all of
when they're in Honoré's like apartment and he has the like arches that like are the like, it's just that Art Nouveau style. There's nothing like it. It's so beautiful.
In college, I had like a little Nouveau moment where I would do like I had that like one graphic shirt of the like, was it Muche painting style? But it was like a video game character. It's the Art Nouveau style of like the portraits of women, like side view.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's giving Where Dolly ate in Act 2.
Look at these mirrors. Look at the mirrors. Yeah. It's so pretty. Yeah, it's giving Harmonia Gardens.
Yes. Mixed with a little
but it's fully Paris.
Yeah.
With the little lamps on each table. Ugh, come on.
I mean, I was making jokes about rebuilding this, but I would be so upset. There's nothing that makes me angrier than redoing work that I thought was done.
I'm sorry.
That's why it took us a year to redo Evita.
Yeah.
Yeah. Period.
Great. Molly, what's your closer?
What drag queen are we casting as Aunt Alicia in the live production that they will be doing with Gigi in a few years when they've run out of good musicals to do on NBC?
Yeah. I mean, I like Jinx, but I think like there are other options too.
Now, can I interest you in a Katya energy for Aunt Alicia?
Oh,
just
yeah.
Taking it off the rails. She probably does not know her lines. She may be intoxicated.
Katya is Gigi's
in a
mom.
Live show where we put a liability like that on stage. You know what I'm saying?
I think Katya is Gigi's mom, so you do get the cameo of Katya just like singing a little, stinging some scales.
Okay, we like this. What if it's Katya as Mamita and Detox as Aunt Alicia?
As Aunt Alicia.
Because because Detox's got to have good energy, and if it's Katya and Trixie, that's everyone's expecting it. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's too. It's been done.
You know what? I actually think instead of Gigi, it's Van Gigi, and it's Vanjie being high society.
Vanjie
that's funny because Vanjie is perfect for if there was an American version of My Fair Lady.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like perfect.
Yeah.
My vote is Gigi is Georges.
Oh, Georgis.
Georgis.
Wow. So many layers.
All as Aunt Alicia.
And
Michelle is Mamita.
Yeah.
Wow. Your brain.
My galaxy brain.
And Sasha Colby as the Ava Gabor.
Oh, wow.
Like kills herself for being caught.
No, that's very Katya.
That's true.
Yeah.
Could be fun seeing Katya as like as a Gabor.
Yeah. I do like that Ava Gabor role. And it is there was something that I was reading that was trying to be like, it may seem at first glance that where was it? I don't remember where it was, but it was like, it may seem at first glance that that Ava Gabor storyline is like just to pad time, but it's actually to set up the things she does that annoys Gaston, so that when Gigi does it, that's why he's like annoyed with her. And I was like, I mean, I guess it's still takes a bit of time, but okay.
Yeah, you couldn't understand the concept of a human being annoyed by another human unless someone had taught you that through storytelling. So
right. Show don't tell for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we've done it,
girls.
And to that we say, thank heaven for little girls. Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgazemoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
Friends forever? Forever.
Meet the Cheetah Girls.
Cheetah! The talent show's auditions are tomorrow. The Cheetah Girls are first in line to win this thing.
Your dreams are very important to us. But here's my plan. That you focus on real life and real chores real soon.
Friends help friends make their dream come true.
They were just trying to win their school talent show. Then,
Jacqueline Johnson?
Their whole world changed.
I'm looking for the next big thing. And I think that thing might just have spots. Here's my checklist. Number 1, record a bump and demo. Number 2, make millions.
Our engineering department wants to create whole new identities.
I'm sorry, we don't lip sync.
Don't worry, we'll teach you.
Their dreams meant everything to them.
We can't change the Cheetah Girls.
Now they have to prove it.
It's not our music. It's not your song, so you want to walk. You're not the boss of everything. Why don't you guys believe in what we have?
The newest Disney Channel original movie.
It's not worth losing a friendship over.
How could we be friends again?
Welcome to the world of a true artist.
Starring Raven from That's So Raven, Sabrina Bryan, and 3LW's Keely Williams and Adrian Bailon.
You're a Cheetah Girl because of who you are.